Tashi dele kukamsang. I am Julika Kama children, and today I want to talk about how learning Tibetan changed my life, because it totally did. And all of you, I'm sure, who have learned a new language, you have experienced that your life is not the same as before for many reasons. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what points really have made a difference for me. And before going into that, I want to share about how I started getting really into being interested in Tibet. And I shared a little bit about it in a previous video. So it all started for me when I was about 16 and I met this Tibetan Buddhist Lama for the first time, who was traveling to Europe with a huge retinue, also with monks and nuns, and really, really touched me so deeply that I myself sort of wanted to start really practicing Buddhism. And with that also, with that spark came the interest of wanting to understand what these monks and nuns were talking about. I was living in Italy, so I already had the imprinting, the tendency of learning a new language, because I moved there with 9 and before I was in Germany. So I already had learned a new language fairly early on in my life. And then with that experience, I really thought, oh, why not learning Tibetan? Come on, let's learn Tibetan so I can chat with these interesting people who are sitting there laughing and playing around all the time. Like, what are they talking about? I want to know. Are they talking about spiritual matters? I got really, really curious. So I decided with 16 I was going to learn Tibetan. Of course, it didn't happen for quite a while because I was still in school. I didn't have the time. But as I shared in this other video on how I learned Tibetan, go and watch it if you didn't. With 23, I went to Asia, to India and to Nepal, and I started learning the language. And with that, a whole new universe of perspective on the world, on the perspective around being a human being. And so many new human values became so alive for me, which the Tibetan people I sought to embody and to live. So that means I'm talking here about learning language opens you a door for getting into new ways of seeing the world, learning about yourself, and cultural values that might or might not be present in your home country. So what I learned from them was generosity, so much generosity, and friendliness too, and hospitality, so much, heaps, tons of it. Really, really nice and really, really touching. I of course knew generosity also from my own country. It's not that people in Italy or Germany are not generous, but Tibetans really carry it as, a baseline for human interactions. I think I have never met, never ever ever, a Tibetan who is greedy or miser. I cannot think of anyone. So generous, when you come over to someone's house and as soon as they hear you speak a little Tibetan, you are kind of part of the family, and then you get the tea and you get the cookies and then you get a meal and you get the Tibetan classical momos if you're lucky on that day, it's like they really shower you with food and they insist of you eating more and more, like until you are so full and you can't anymore. Like they really, really want you to be satisfied and full and nourished. And also with money in general, I have seen them always very, very generous, giving towards the lamas, donations, or giving towards the poor. I have seen them being very generous, yes. So that was really one thing, and the friendliness. And also what I learned a lot from Buddhist lamas is patience, because Buddhism teaches these qualities, these ethical qualities, and has them quite much at the forefront. So patience is among them. And yeah, I must say that when Tibetan lamas, especially when they come also to the West and they meet with Western students, and there are all these, differences in approaching the Buddhist practice, and a lot of also questions that these lamas might have heard millions of times, and it's always with the same patience, with the same space and time they take to answer all of these questions, to be there for the people. And when things don't run smooth, which often in the world don't run smooth with organizations or whatever things, they are just so calm. They always keep they chill. I don't think I have ever seen a master who lost a chill because something in administration, or how the things were organized, or how maybe the timing wasn't kept well, like who lost their chill. I don't think I've ever seen anyone. There are a lot of patience towards life and the moments when things don't run smoothly. so to say. And yeah, that was another really major quality I learned from them. And then also the care and love towards sentient beings, to anything that lives. Like, I have never seen a Tibetan seeing a spider walking on the wall and going like, like I see it often in the West happen. And there's a lot of care and mindfulness of this being actually alive that you don't have the right to take, unless your life is threatened. Perhaps at that point, yes, but spider on the wall isn't such a circumstance. So also that kind of respect towards life, which I already learned quite a lot in my own family, growing up in a Buddhist family. But again, there it's you have it, not just with your own family, but you see it pretty much anywhere, this respect towards life. And that was really, really also a beautiful learning. And one other thing that learning Tibetan brought for me was the direct contact with Buddhist lamas. And I was so lucky already when I was studying in Nepal and India to meet many of these great Buddhist teachers, basically, who had a lot of meditation experience. And of course, being at the beginning of this path, and I still consider myself a beginner, you have questions, you want to discuss and see how your viewpoint fits with all of that, what you're learning, this path of practicing Buddhism and meditation. So now, knowing the language, I did not have the need of an interpreter anymore to be able to talk with these teachers and get advice on my questions or my doubts. So I could very, very easily have chances to speak with spiritual teachers who had way more experience than me, of course. And yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the most important aspects in learning this language, that is so much connected to a spirituality that is still so alive and so relevant also for us modern people, that I can really say I'm mostly grateful for. Not mostly, I'm grateful for everything, but I'm definitely very grateful for this aspect. And also then starting to become a translator, you're very close to Buddhist lamas a lot, and you not only see how they live their daily lives and get inspired through their kind of being in the world, but also then you have the chance to listen to a lot of teachings and getting the chances to ask questions. You have some also while translating. Sometimes if things are not clear, as a Tibetan translator, Tibetan is a language that's often has a lot of abbreviations for technical terms for complex concepts of philosophy. So then sometimes when I translate and I'm not exactly sure what a certain concept means, I have to ask the Lama, back and forth. And then I can have an answer, like we can have an interaction and talk about it. So that was also very, very nice. And since I had over time a lot of connections with different teachers, also from time to time I get invited to follow some philosophy courses in Asia. So perhaps there's a transmission on a certain text or teaching that lasts for a month, 2 or 3, and it's all in Tibetan. And then sometimes I go there to attend to these teachings, which of course is also very valuable, because you will never find such thing in the West, because you would need a translator for very complex topics, sometimes from tantric sources or from sutra literature, commentaries, whatever. Like, if you would have a translator to do that for Western people and Western audience, you would need months or maybe even years to go through all of it. And there, with the Tibetan language, you can have it in a much shorter time. And because also there are many more spaces that are in Asia, monasteries where you can easily host such events and that are supported by the local communities, then it becomes way more easy to organize such happenings. So this is also something that, of course, comes with knowing a language, that you can do things that are only available in that language. And yeah, so I really, really have to say this has been one of the greatest journeys ever that has impacted my life the most, for sure. So yeah, I guess that's really what comes with learning languages and opening up to new cultures. And of course, if you're interested in learning languages and knowing more about other cultures, today this is one of the great things we have in the modern world, the chance to really go and move and be everywhere if we want and learn from these people. I really recommend you to not just go there and being a tourist and, you know, just making photographs of statues or monuments, but really try to grab something from the culture, from the human values, spiritual values that culture and people have in their living, and bring that back to your home, teach it to your children, you know, bring it, merge it with your own culture. I think that is beautiful, and we can learn so much from each other. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for supporting my channel, and Jae-lyong, see you, Tujiche, thank you.
Yeah.